All right, let's talk about Japan. Specifically, we're going to tackle a question that trips up so many travelers. How long can you actually stay there without a visa? Now, Japan's rules are incredibly generous, but they're also super strict. And if you get it wrong, well, the consequences can be pretty serious. So let's dive into the ultimate guide for visa-free travel to Japan. So you're dreaming of those Kyoto temples, the Tokyo nightlife, but the rules can feel a little fuzzy, right? Are you allowed to stay for 90 days, or is it 30? And what on earth happens if you just want to stay a little bit longer? Don't worry, we're going to clear all of that up right now. First things first, let's just break down the whole system. Japan has this thing called a visa waiver program, and it makes short-term visits really simple for a lot of us. You can think of it like a welcoming handshake, but a handshake that comes with a very specific rule book.
Okay, the key phrase you need to know is temporary visitor status. This is not a visa you apply for ahead of time. It's a status that an immigration officer gives you right when you arrive. They'll look at your passport, maybe ask a couple of questions, and if everything looks good, stamp, you're in. It's that simple.
So what's the real difference here? Well, it's pretty simple. Visa-free entry is all about convenience. No paperwork in advance. An actual visa, on the other hand, is for much longer stays or for specific things like working or going to school, and that absolutely requires getting approval from a Japanese embassy before you ever get on a plane.
But, and this is a big but, not all visa-free stays are the same. The amount of time you're allowed to be in the country depends completely on the passport you're holding. For a huge number of travelers, this is the magic number, 90 days. In a row. That's almost 3 whole months to explore, go to some business meetings, or visit family. This is the top tier, the most generous part of the whole visa waiver program. You can kind of see the breakdown right here. While 90 days is definitely the most common, a lot of travelers are granted 30 days, and some just get 15. The most important thing is knowing exactly which category your country fits into before you book your trip. So who's in this 90-day club? Well, you've got a lot of the big players. We're talking the United States and Canada, pretty much all of the EU countries, plus the UK and Switzerland, and of course key partners in Asia like South Korea and Singapore. If your passport is from one of these places, congrats, you get the full 90 days. Now, for the shorter stays, travelers from the UAE and Qatar, for example, get 30 days. And the details here are really important. For Indonesia, this only applies if you have an e-passport. For Brunei, it's for ordinary passport holders. Meanwhile, citizens from Thailand and Malaysia are granted 15 days. You gotta know these specifics. Okay, so you know how long you can stay, but the next critical question, and this is where a lot of travelers accidentally get into trouble, is what are you allowed to do while you're there? The good news is, the stuff you can do is probably what you're planning anyway. Tourism and sightseeing, of course. Visiting friends and family, no problem. You can even go to business meetings or conferences just as long as you're not getting paid by a Japanese company. Short-term classes or some unpaid volunteer work, that's generally fine too. And now for the big no-nos. The main rule is just super simple. You cannot do any paid work, period. That means no part-time job at a cafe, no paid gigs as a musician, and absolutely no trying to start a business. Under this status, you are a visitor, not an employee.
And yeah, this is the #1 question for all the digital nomads out there. The official stance is crystal clear. Even if you're working remotely for a company back home, it's technically not allowed while you're in Japan as a temporary visitor. It's a gray area for sure, but immigration is getting way more aware of this, which makes it a really big risk.
Okay, this brings us to a really serious topic. Trying to bend or break these rules doesn't just cut your trip short, it can stop you from ever coming back. Let's talk about how to avoid getting banned from Japan.
You've probably heard of this trick, right? The idea that you can stay for 89 days, pop over to South Korea for the weekend, and then just waltz right back in for another 90 days. Look, in some other countries, that might fly. In Japan, it's a massive red flag. Immigration officials are literally trained to spot this, and they see it as you trying to live in Japan illegally. Here's exactly what those officers are looking for. Did you stay for the full 90 days on your last trip? Are you trying to enter again after being out of the country for just a few days? Can you prove you have a job or a home to go back to? If you can't convince them that you're a genuine tourist with a life waiting for you back home, they have every right to turn you away at the border. The consequences for overstaying, even by a single day, are severe. We're talking deportation and a re-entry ban. If you turn yourself in, you might get a 1-year ban. But if you get caught,
It can easily be a 5 to 10-year ban, or even an indefinite one if you're a repeat offender. It's just not worth it.
And on top of being detained and deported, you can also get hit with a pretty hefty fine, up to 300,000 yen. That's over 2,000 US dollars. It's a very, very expensive mistake to make.
Okay, that was the heavy stuff. But look, the goal here isn't to scare you, it's to empower you. So let's wrap this up with the Smart Traveler's Playbook for doing things the right way. Here it is, the golden rule, the most important thing to remember. Japan's immigration system is not flexible once you're inside the country on a tourist waiver. If you even think you'll need more time, you have to sort it out and get the right visa before you travel.
And honestly, the process isn't as scary as it sounds. It's really just a clear 5-step journey. First, you figure out what kind of visa you need, student, work, whatever. Then, you get all your documents together, submit them at the Japanese embassy in your home country, wait a bit while they process it, and then you go pick up your passport with that shiny new visa inside.
So these are your legal alternatives. A student visa is perfect if you want to go to language school. A work visa is obviously required for a job. A spouse visa is for people with family ties. The biggest takeaway here is the processing time. It can take months, which just reinforces that golden rule: you have to plan ahead. At the end of the day, Japan welcomes millions of us with open arms. The whole visa waiver system is proof of that. And by understanding and respecting their rules, you make sure your trip is amazing and you help keep this great system going for everyone else. So really, the question isn't whether Japan is ready for you, it's, are you ready to be a smart, prepared, and respectful traveler?